You've been sober for 16 years. I just have to ask, how are you not tempted to like go back into it
Have you
to your
ever,
old self?
have you ever been to jail?
No.
That's why. You get too many DUIs and you go to jail, and then you realize, yeah, this isn't a cool spot. So if you've never been to jail, go sleep in your bathroom. Just lock yourself in your bathroom overnight and sleep on the floor and tell me, how you like it.
So Eric, I don't know if you've been given this or been asked this question a lot, but are you related to Eddie Guerrero?
Definitely no relation. I wish I was. That's funny, as that you just struck a nostalgia chord from my childhood. So with the last name Guerrero, yeah, I was always compared to Eddie Guerrero or Vladimir Guerrero in baseball. Those are the two, I would say, popular sports people where it comes right off the bat.
I feel like you're like the only Guerrero I know in Omaha too. And I feel like everyone knows each other in Omaha specifically, but you're like the only one with that same last name.
And it's funny you say that because people don't understand how common the Guerrero name is. It's like Smith, like for a white it's a obviously Latin background, but it means warrior. It actually translates in English to warrior. It's pretty cool, a little fact.
Learned something new today. Thanks for sharing that with me.
Absolutely, you're gonna learn a lot of new things here, Connor.
Well, I'm excited for that. Guys, welcome to another episode of the 402 on Out Your podcast. I'm your host, Connor Wiesman, and with me today, I'm with celebrity content creator, videographer, and photographer, Eddie Guerrero. Eddie, thank you for joining me today.
You just said Eddie now, Guerrero. You must have planted
Oh my
it in your-
gosh, yeah. I'm going to leave that in, honestly. That's a funny mistake. But I'm with Eric Guerrero, everyone. I'm with Eric Guerrero. I apologize for that.
That's right, man. R.I.P. the late great Eddie Guerrero, man. I'm just gonna call him my uncle, my phantom uncle. But yeah, we're here, man. I'm super excited you came, and yeah, I'm ready to rock out.
So, as I told you earlier, I like to go tell stories chronologically, like lifetime wise. So let's go back to before your content creation passion and wedding photographies and awards with all that. Let's go back to your childhood. So you were not born in Nebraska. So where were you born in?
So I was actually born in Florida. I was born in Newport Richey, Florida. God, this sounds so great. The quality. I love your quality. I'll just give you those props right away.
I appreciate that.
So it's hard to think about starting before like as content creation because ever since I was a kid, I was always super creative. Anybody that's known me since Betts Elementary School here in Bellevue, Nebraska, that I've always been super, super creative and was really good at drawing, like physical art back then. It just kind of translated over time to then digital pieces, cameras and things like that. From pencils to cameras just became my medium.
So one of my questions was, were you always a photogenic kid? Or were you always
no.
Were you always more behind the camera type of guy?
No, I would say. I mean, I was always in action. I was always involved in action as a kid. But I was always like to be behind the camera. I mean, I liked a little bit of both. But I always like to create the stories. Like you said, you want to tell a story chronologically. That's one way to tell a story. But I've always enjoyed telling stories, whether that was with physical or creating conversation with your art or,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So how long did you live in Florida for?
Only the first 3 years. So I really don't say I'm from Florida. I say I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. I was born there. We moved up here when I was 3, and it's pretty much been Omaha ever since. So yeah, that's where the heart is.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah. Definitely have some siblings. I've grown up in a blended family, from childhood have had multiple, but now 5. Yeah. So.
Do they all still live in Nebraska too?
No, a couple of them. My brothers stepbrothers live in Texas, so Houston, Texas, and Dallas, Texas. Excuse me. My stepsister lives out in California currently, but my other 2 sisters live here in Nebraska. Yeah.
So you lived here almost your entire life. So growing up, were you said Bellevue, right?
I grew up in Bellevue for like the first half of my childhood, so that was pretty crazy. But yeah, after that, it's pretty much just been South Omaha.
So what was growing up during that time like?
Well, if growing up in Bellevue was different, it's a little bit more like of the suburbs, but in terms of like art as a kid back in 6th grade, I mean, I remember like winning. What did I design? Like a cookbook or something? Like a drawing contest for all the kids. I won like to the cover of a cookbook just from drawing like some table setting or something like that. So at an early age, I still stood out as a very like good artistically. But it was, I mean, I had good memories. Those are your basic childhood memories. The Sandlot, baseball, all the fun stuff.
So you were pretty extroverted kid growing up.
Oh, 100%. We were outside. I'm a little older than you, so our generation of outside, we were really outside. We were the outside till the street lights came on type of kids. Not, nowadays, and our parents didn't have GPS on us and didn't know where the heck we was at. But we were definitely outside for sure.
Did you partake in any sports or activities?
I was, yes, like I said, from sandlot. I would love to do everything from kickball to sandlot baseball, but not like my mom didn't have the money to get me in professionally or in those like select teams. And I was just moderately good at every sport. Like I'm all right. You can plug and play me in pretty much anything, but I never excelled at one to get like a scholarship or anything. I enjoy being active though.
Where did you go to high school at?
Omaha, well, Bellevue East for like half a year, and then Omaha South High.
And then did you work with like the school newspaper, or record like sports highlights or anything like? Did you do anything creative in high school?
I'm not gonna lie, like I felt like I didn't work with the newspaper. I thought that was too nerdy back then when I was really trying to be cool in high school. But yes, I was still always involved. In fact, one of my favorite memories and strongest memories in art class at South High was I still am friends with a couple of my current friends that I was in art class with. There's a few that came out of Omaha South High art classes that are phenomenal. So Danny, I'm gonna give my man Danny Reyes a shout out. So Danny Reyes is also a DJ here locally, but as you can see in my studio here, I have tons of his work all over the place from all these paintings. But we were in the same art class in high school. I graduated in '03, so that's quite a long time ago. He's still doing art, making money and selling money off of his art. Likewise, I am. It's just in a digital form. Another guy, Tristan Flanagan. He was an artist as well too. He's done murals, and we went to the same art class. Reggie's done iconic murals around Omaha. I believe he went to South. I'm not sure. But yeah, again, those are the type of memories that come out of high school. Is more not on the news, not on the media team, because again, back in my time, the technology wasn't at where it's at right now. It was more physical art versus.
Got it. So growing up, when I was a kid, I had the Vine era, YouTube era, Team 10, Jake Paul, all that. You were probably a lot older.
Yeah, I just turned 40. So before, like in high school, in high school were we shouting out like Dave Chappelle skits? That's kind of like what was influencing us. I don't think we had in high school we had like Nokia phones with Snake on them. So we didn't have YouTube on our phones or Vine or any social media. It didn't exist back then. So it was just we were shout out stuff that we saw on TV and everybody would laugh, or there would be those kind of things. As far as influence goes, it was more street. It was more graffiti. So I would be influenced by, or I would be inspired by the graffiti that I saw on top of the silos or the bridges, where it's like, wow, that's really good. Or as the trains went by. I remember doing a report on graffiti back then. So I traveled down to the tracks and took some pictures and developed the film, and did the report on the enemy crew. They still have tags around here, but that it goes deep, that culture.
I just never heard of the enemy crew before, so I want to give some context on that.
I don't remember the report, but the letter NME. Now that I'm saying this, if you put this out there and you live in Omaha, Nebraska, and you drive around, you might see their tags on bridges and big buildings, and they do all the super risky, gnarly tags around here. So I kind of got into that because it goes deep into not just the artwork, but then the stories and some of the them being anonymous. Words are hard. Anonymity of some of the taggers and things like that. So that was more my influence, was hip hop, graffiti, that kind of culture. It wasn't necessarily like news, media, photojournalism. I didn't care as much about that back then.
So when you were younger, say like mid-20s, early 30s, did anyone like celebrity-wise inspire you to do what you're doing today?
Man, in terms of the media side, like I said, it wasn't there. It kind of evolved after social media came about. But I was definitely in party mode back then. If you knew me seriously, from the ages of 21 to 24, was just like team blackout. I don't drink anymore. If you know me now, I don't drink alcohol, and I haven't in like 16 plus years. But those days were all a blur. I was definitely not worried about content creation from the ages of 21 to 24. It then came after that is where it really became my thing. after getting in trouble with DUIs and me giving up drinking, I didn't have a reason or a purpose to even be in the clubs. It was too risky, you know. And then once I had the camera in my hand, it gave me a purpose to be in the club and not drink. Is then now I have this camera, I can add value. I'm taking pictures, I'm documenting the night, and I don't have to drink. I can kind of lean into this gift. And so that's kind of where it started, honestly, is after right after that age of that, you know, I would even say 18 to 21. From a senior in high school to 24, I didn't care about shooting. I was partying, and it was more drugs and alcohol. You know what I mean? Kind of environment, party scene versus locking down and making something your thing.
So work-wise, after you graduated high school, what jobs did you work?
I mean, it was just a slew of jobs. You know, you did everything from call center jobs to Godfathers to UPS to, you know, the Amazons, like those kind of just regular jobs that kids go for after high school when you don't get a scholarship. You're not focused on scholarships or internships. You're just like, all right, here we are.
So you didn't go to community college or any college whatsoever after high school?
Oh, for sure, for sure. After South, but it was a few years gap, right? So you graduated and were like party, party, party. And you're like, oh, stuff, we really got to get going. So I did go to Metro. I started at Metro, and that's where I started. You know, I did get an associate's. No, I started at Metro. I ended up at ITT Tech, ironically, the college that no longer exists anymore. But so I started at Metro, and that's when it got along the art path. And then that's when I finally got a nice DSLR camera in my hand. Was Elkhorn campus, Metro.
So what degree was that called?
Visual communications or some bull, you know what I mean? Whatever they call it. But, you know, yeah, I mean, so I did get my degree. I do have an associate's degree, but I don't, if you ask me, you know, what that piece of paper did for me versus just getting out here and doing it like you are, you don't need the piece of paper. You know, once you get to this point of entrepreneurship, I think most of them are not necessarily anti-college, but it's like you don't need college and $80,000 and $40,000 in debt to get where you're at now. I'd rather get a business loan for $40,000 to $80,000, and that will get you way farther.
You said that's now because of the technology that has evolved, but
Yeah.
back then when you actually got your associate's degree, do you think at the time it actually did matter?
I believe that because I didn't experience what I knew now, you know, as in like this piece of paper is what's going to get me, you know, is going to get me the phone call back or the internship. But now you start to, and we've had this conversation too, is like who you know and your skill set. If you're confident in your skill set and who you know and just your work will get you that. Your work is like proof of concept more than just a piece of paper hanging on the wall is.
I get what you're saying. So
I feel like I still would have made it back then. You know, like I don't know. You get so focused on your talent and you like I said, you niche out. You get so good at it. You're confident in your skill set.
So you talked about holding your first DSLR camera.
Yeah.
Fast forward to now, I want to know how many cameras do you have like in this building or just in general?
Well, I mean, I don't think as photographers you want to have technically I have a lot because I collect old cameras too.
Yep.
So if you count those, maybe like 20. But ones that I use regularly, maybe like 3. You know, I think that as videographers, we always want to kind of get the latest and greatest. So you might sell your old camera to upgrade to the next model, and that's kind of the goal of everybody.
So I didn't have this in here, but I kind of want to talk about it. So you have like an old iPhone right there,
Yeah.
where you still use and record, and then you have this other camera right there where you showed me earlier, where it's like this is what like the Netflix directors and producers use, and then you have like obviously like digital cameras too. So can you explain to me like what's the versatility with all these cameras and like their purpose?
Do you mind if I grab one real quick? Is
You can
that
go
cool?
right
Oh,
ahead.
okay,
Yeah,
hold on
please.
just 1 second. I want to grab a couple cameras. This bad boy right here is a Red camera. This is one of my latest and greatest purchases. But this camera right here is almost identical, or if not the same camera that I started on. So it's like this is you versus the guy she told you not to worry about.
That's a funny comparison. So back
No, just
then,
kidding. Go ahead.
so back then, say social media social media now was like where it's blowing up right now, but push it back 20 years ago. Do you think people would be using that camera? So like the Logan Pauls, the Jake Pauls, Andrew Tate's, yada yada yada, like all those videographers and content creators?
Yeah, absolutely. You use what you have, right? And like you said, the original iPhone. I was talking about you use what you have at the time, but you always are striving for the best. So like this might have been the best piece of equipment that was available back then over the iPhone, and what would make that different, you know? And so there was a bigger gap between the technology back then than there is now to create, like I was saying before. And but even still, this was kind of the start in the clubs. I started off in the clubs with this little wrist straplet camera, which is kind of making a comeback for people wanting that vintage feel. But we were really shooting with this back in the club. So I started with this video and photos, and then it's been up ever since.
And then can you talk more about that red camera too?
Yeah. So this is an older model red camera. This is a Red Dragon. Shout out to Boom. But I just picked this one up, and it's kind of like I was explaining. This is in terms of the brand is kind of like the industry standard. When you hear red camera, you just think of super professional quality, and it does. Even at this camera being over a decade old, it's still Netflix approved quality. So you see these big cameras with all these extra attachments, batteries, monitors, different lenses, et cetera, et cetera. That's where you get into the professional side of it, aside from a cell phone where it's just all built in. Really being able to adjust every aspect of the camera.
There's a post, I looked over your Instagram. There's a post that you remixed where it was like it started off with just like the camera stand,
Yeah.
and then once one accessory, like the actual camera, the lens, the filter, all this other accessories, the price goes up and up and up.
Right.
And then at the end of the video is a text message saying, "Oh, my budget's $100." Then it goes back to the iPhone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So can you explain like to the audience how expensive just recording, like any recording equipment is?
Well, I mean, you know that firsthand, of course. Your setup is over $1,000 easily, but a new iPhone might cost like 1,200, something like that, which you could bring in, and you can, like I said, you're shooting 4K quality. People, you didn't even understand the difference between 4K 60. No disrespect,
No, it's
but like,
fine.
and like the frame rates, like even just diving deep into that, most people's they haven't even maxed out their own iPhone, as in max knowing all of what your iPhone can do. But in terms of price, like I shoot Sony FX3 on like a gimbal and a light and some mics. I mean that can be and the lenses can be like $7,000 you're walking around with in the club, and and they might pay you $150 or something like that. I might as well bring my iPhone with a great LED light just to make sure I capture it for that budget. But people don't understand how much money can go into all of this, time and money that can go into all of this.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sorry,
So-
I overshare.
No, you're perfectly fine. So I want to jump into the origins of Guerrero Media Group. How did that all happen? I'm assuming it was after you received your associate's degree.
Most definitely after I received a degree, but it was the degree that didn't help me think like an entrepreneur. It kind of was on the path of, okay, I received a degree and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just know I wanted to create. Back then when I received my degree, I thought I was going to be like creating digital magazines and billboards and stuff like that. And I thought that's where I was going to end up. Guerrero Media Group came after Eric Guerrero Photography, me as an individual, as I started to grow, get better, shoot bigger gigs where I realized I needed a team. And so it was bigger than just myself. So that's when the rebrand happened from Eric Guerrero to Guerrero Media Group, when I knew I needed a team. And so that's where that happened.
So who is in your team currently, or how many employees, or not even just buddies that are on your team?
Well, I mean, it's really just me and my wife, but I subcontract. It's just kind of like to other creatives, obviously around in the community. Shout out to my man Dewey. Shout out to my man Jabs. And it really is just working. Once you build a brand, I realized in your face is primarily attached to the brand. You can really, like I said, have anybody shoot or work with you. The branding is the most important, I guess, but it can be anybody is what I'm saying. I could have a wedding coming up next month, and I could post in the videographers group, the Nebraska Creative Collaboratives group, and 2 or 3 professionals that I've already may have shot with before, they might hop on board and take the gig. And so that's why the Guerrero Media Group brand was important to rebrand to that, because then anybody could work under it. You know what I mean? Or you could subcontract and you can scale up. You know.
I get what you're saying. So let's go back to Eric Guerrero Photography. So what were your first events that you took pictures of? Was it just weddings?
No, I mean weddings are usually last that people get into because people are scared of them. They're scared to mess up. It's really anything. You see people start taking nature, family, baby pictures first. You know, kind of people close to them before they start getting bookings for family photos or milestone moments. But I was just doing anything. You know, you literally, when you start in this, you take whatever they give you, anything, until you can make enough to then solely do what you like. You know, like, nah, I'm good. You know.
So once you rebranded to Guerrero Media Group, what were the first events that you did for the rebrand?
You know, I think the rebrand, it wasn't necessarily about an event, because the rebrand was more about the wedding, because that's where, you know, that's where the bag was at. That's where it was a little bit more lucrative to shoot weddings than it is to shoot nightlife photos. So knowing that, tried to rebrand everything from my website to my Instagram presence to all of these things, and really cater around weddings and just dive deep into weddings. That's what it was about.
Got it. So with the weddings, I don't know if people know this, but you won back-to-back awards with Omaha Magazine's Best of Omaha for wedding photography.
Yes.
I want to learn, like, what was your reaction when you heard that you won that first year back in 2022?
I love that you do your research, first of all, so thank you for that. 2022, 2023, I mean, my honest, instant reaction is it is marketing, you know, more so than it is skill set. So shout out to all the wonderful shooters in the city. I got to give props to everybody, because I wouldn't say I'm the best knowingly, but I would say that goes to show how hard I hustle. So if it is a marketing competition, how hard are you going to hustle to get your name out there? And that I've been doing since the beginning of time. But I also would say, yeah, I mean, you do put the work in, and show up professionally and deliver professionally. But there was just, you know, just continuing to build, continuing to put out work. And the great thing about being a videographer is your work and name is going to spread faster than if you're a florist, right? Because the florist needs the content to show everybody, you know? So we were the content creators, so it was just easy to pump out content and
then
be seen, be known.
You have a lot of good reviews on that too. So how big is it to have like those reviews like back you up?
I mean, those are stamps, cosigns from customers. You know, the reviews. I feel like the reviews help better with like food restaurants and stuff, because the food can look good, but it might not taste good. But when you're creating a timeless piece, like a wedding video that somebody's going to watch over and over and over, and being able to capture those moments, that's it. It's all, the product is out there. It's on the internet, and it can't be changed. You know, it is what it is. So the product speaks for it. The work will speak for itself. If you put the work in, you know, your work will speak for itself. You can't really argue with the content.
Do you shoot weddings outside of Nebraska?
Oh yeah. You know, we'll travel anywhere for a wedding, really, if the price is right. But I really enjoy shooting outside of Nebraska, because I felt like over the years you tend to shoot at the same venues, and then it becomes, as a creative, a little bit more difficult to come up to make this feel different if you shot at the same venue 20 times. How am I going to make this wedding film look different from this wedding film? I know that the cast is different, but the same B-roll shots, and it's like this, you know. So I enjoy new places, because there's always those, this looks new, it's fresh, you know, it's a good feel.
So you said you're married with your wife. So what was that like, having someone else? I guess I should ask, did you guys film your wedding?
Yes and no. So I had back then had a had a friend do it, but in terms of partnership, like it helped. It helped with the whole. It helped being in the wedding industry. It helped being married, helped having a partner. I started off as a creative, and I taught Marissa how to shoot. And then once she became proficient in shooting photography, then she was the lead photographer. And I enjoyed the video more, so I wanted to lean in on that side. So then it became a dual threat, and a lot easier for people, because it's just an easier decision to make. If you have an in-house team that can do both, and they gel well together and they work well together, Why not, right? Why not hire them? But then if the quality's there, there's a ton of other things, just communication, um, that just help. Just being in and understanding and just being in that atmosphere was great. It was easier to work in that atmosphere. It would be harder to go shoot a nightlife, in that atmosphere. So it was just conducive to that.
I want to make sure I got this correct chronologically. So after you got your degree, you started with Eric Guerrero photography. You said you just started taking pictures of like anything.
Yeah, I would anything. I mean, my portfolio is crazy. Would do anything. You're getting paid to do whatever jobs you can.
And then when you found out you love videography more, did you transition to let's start doing wedding events? Was that like the first thing, or was it again like anything?
Man, I was doing anything, but weddings was where the bag at. Is where the bag was at, and currently is outside of like corporate events that have an even bigger budget, right? Like you could do music videos, and I still do them to this day. But shout out to Jabs and Dewey, the goats at that. But the budgets, artist budgets, they want to pay you $250, and you're arguing back and forth for 500 or 1,000, and where it's like on the wedding side of things, there really is none of that, and it's a bigger ticket. You got one shot, right? You can't mess up this event, but it's at least scheduled just like a music video would be, pre-planned. You have video treatments, and you're doing all of the same work for a fraction of the price. So that was one of the reasons why I really leaned into it. But I learned to love weddings because of the love. So it was almost like when if you're a religious person, you go to church and you walk out of church on a Sunday afternoon and you just feel light, refreshed. You might have cried, and you got that light feeling after you cried and the weight's off your shoulders. So weddings were like that, is where if you went as a couple, you get to see love, and you get to see this beautiful moment, and you get to be reminded of why you're blessed with this person, and you get to work with this person, and it's what you guys love to do. It's something you could be doing anything. I could be a trash man throwing trash on it. Instead I'm doing what I love. So to me it was a beautiful thing.
When did you start taking videos and photos of the nightclubs or like the nightlife in Omaha or Nebraska?
Well, that's how I started. So that was my reason to get back in the clubs after I ran out of get out of jail free cards. So I came back because of the camera, and then I was just started to make money, and I would just upgrade my camera with the money that I made from shooting. So that's how you go from a wrist strap to a Red Dragon.
So I asked one of my previous interviewers or interviewees, DJ Doc, about the nightlife back then. So
shout out to Doc, man.
So back to you. What was the nightlife like for you? Because Doc talked about it's now Rhythms Lounge, but it was something else. What was like your scene right after high school, or even when you were getting back into the clubs? What were those venues or bars or nightclubs like?
Rhythms used to be the Roxbury, and if you knew the Roxbury, you knew it was just different back then. It wasn't even that the venue, like you can flip the venue, you could put $500,000 into a venue. It's the time, it's the era, it's the social media. When you go to a club now, everybody's on their phone. They're trying to portray like they're having the best time of their life instead of actually having the best time of their life. It's all about content now. It's all about their cell phones. They get dressed. They want their selfies. Back then, we didn't have this shit. So you had to learn how to, to speak to people. You were dancing. You were having fun. You were sweating. You didn't care what you looked like. Like it was all of those things. So I think that was part of it, was just the era of clubbing back then. But especially the Roxbury. They had the little cage, and I think even started same thing, 18 and up back then. And who's got it rocking right now? Lawton Lives. Shout out to him. You should interview him next. That young kid's doing some things.
I know of Lawton.
Yeah.
So you've been sober for 16 years. I just have to ask, how are you not tempted to like go back into it? Your old self?
Have you ever been to jail?
No.
That's why. You get too many DUIs and you go to jail, and then you realize, this isn't a cool spot. So if you've never been to jail, go sleep in your bathroom. Just lock yourself in your bathroom overnight and sleep on the floor, and tell me, how you like it. So that was it, really. It was just like, I realized that with this particular thing, I was, like you said, I didn't drink to socialize. It wasn't like you. I was team blackout. We're going, and so that caused problems. Just recognizing that was just an issue in my life, and realizing that I could no longer partake is cool. How am I not tempted? It's just, I don't know. Once you associate something with just all negative, it's easier to stay away from it. Like, and even my body's changed, like the taste. If it touches my tongue, I can feel it burn like almost like a poison. It does change after a while, and it gets easy, And but again, I had something to lean into. I wasn't just standing around the club, in the club like, what am I doing? I have an equal or greater passion than if I'm in the club with the camera. I feel, I'm creating something. I'm documenting. It has a purpose and a passion behind it. So alcohol doesn't. It was just, I thought at that I needed that to be social.
So being a creative is what got you to escape that old self of you.
I mean, being a creative and then just understanding punishment, it was just the repercussions of what would happen. This is the reason why we don't rob a bank. You just know you're going to go to jail forever. So, I guess that's pretty much it. It was a combination of the two, but definitely the penalties more so than the creative.
So when you go out and you capture these moments at the nightlife of Omaha or Lincoln or just anywhere in Nebraska, do you feel like, yeah, I'm just here just to catch a bag and just take pictures, videos, post, hopefully get money, or is it like I'm excited to go here every time and it's just I'm
excited.
blessed to do this?
Oh, excited, man! Super excited. I mean, at this stage in my life and in my age, like I said, you get to create. I get to do the things I love instead of just taking what people will give me. But one of the bigger things is, and shout out to Greg, my boy Greg, is like somebody like Greg. Now my buddy owns a nightclub. And so you get to also, you're working on your dream and passion alongside of and can be a part of and help a great friend of yours build his dream and passion, something like that. So just getting to the next stage and then being able to not just like, oh, I'm getting a bag. We have such a great power as creatives to just how we create the perception and just being able to add a tremendous amount of value to the night, not just at the end where people can see it that didn't show up, but the people that showed up to the party, including them, giving them their 15 minutes of fame and just adding to the value, of the night. So, when you walk into the place, the party became better because you were there.
Do you ever feel like left out because like it looks like everyone's having a good time and then you're just a guy holding a camera like I gotta get a good shot?
Yes and no. That's always been a happy balance, but I probably look goofy 80% of the time because my tongue's moving or I'm focused on the shot more than I am. I'm there as well too. Like you feel the music, you feel the energy. So I'm still present, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing because there's so many. Videographers can attest to this. Like when you get the shot, when you know you got it, the reaction to that is the same as if you saw something crazy in the club. When I know I like the shot, I'm like, ooh, but I got to keep recording. It's equally as fun for me. You know what I mean? I enjoy doing that. Just like some people like John will enjoy breakdancing, he enjoys that.
So similar to that, do you have like your favorite all-time moment that you captured on camera that comes to mind?
Damn, that's a good question. All-time moment? I mean, I guess that would get kind of like I was to back it up. I would say maybe the photojournalistic stuff, the weddings. Those are some really good moments, man. Like those are some really core memory moments that make you just appreciate family and things like that. But I would say some like photojournalistic moments, like the George Floyd protest, like that kind of thing. Getting in there and getting the raw live reactions in a place where you're not supposed to be, kind of, but then creating a piece that's kind of classic and timeless and part of history. And that's like, wow, I didn't realize I did that like that, and that was that impactful to other people. I was just trying to capture what I see in the moment. Wedding like I would say what would top that would be just people that have passed away. You've got great quality content of people that have already passed away, and then that's all that's left, and then you realize, wow, how valuable that is. And I'm like, this is a great piece of content.
Which people who are no longer here do you have content of?
Well, it could be anybody from local friends that at my age, again, when people start to pass away from one way or the other, but like great artists like Mac Miller, for example, either photos of him or pictures with him, like popular artists, people's wedding films where they knew their grandma was going to die or they didn't know their grandma died a couple months later, but I captured this moment of them at the table crying together, stuff like that, where you're like, wow, okay, what we really do is really important.
That's something I like as an outsider. I don't even think about that, but that's crazy to think about now.
Yeah, yeah. You don't know how many people like after shooting photos and videos in the excuse me, for like 15 plus years that have passed away, and the picture that I took was the best picture of them, and then that's what's used on their obituary, which is crazy, but it happens.
So outside of weddings and the nightlife, what other, I don't want to say events, but yeah, I guess events that you try to capture? Like I know you've been doing like comedy shows recently.
Well, I mean, like I said, I still do a little bit of everything. Shout out to like a lot of the local comedians as well too here. But my goal is just to climb and just get to the bigger and bigger shows. Like how one of Grig's goals would be, let's say, to play at Ultra as a DJ, right? Same thing. I would love to be able to create at Ultra as a content creator freely and have like all access type of thing. And so I guess that's kind of my goal. So not necessarily lately, the nightly parties, the bigger parties is what I'm more attracted to with the celebrities or just the larger venues like EDC or Rolling Loud and stuff like that.
So I've seen your Instagram, and I'd say like most recently, like your Instagram content is just the nightlife, and then I checked out your YouTube channel, and it's like you're doing like these quick B-roll clips for like Let It Fly Sports Bar and all these other businesses. So how do you know when to like, all right, this is gonna go on YouTube, YouTube only. This is gonna go on Instagram, Instagram only.
That's a good question. I think I use social media platforms for different things. Like I feel like YouTube is where you archive and just store everything. Although recently YouTube literally just surpassed, was it TikTok in terms of daily views?
YouTube Shorts, yeah.
YouTube Shorts. So YouTube Shorts, people who are ignoring, not even posting on. When's the last time you posted on YouTube Shorts? Well, you're hip to it, so you probably posted recently.
Oh, yesterday.
See, so I mean, but when you ask everybody who's posted to YouTube Shorts, and 95% of people are like, what? TikTok, it's all TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram stories. But yeah. So YouTube I use kind of just to store everything, and it was predominantly weddings, and it's harder to shift that. Instagram, it was easier to shift very quickly, kind of what is it called, timeline, or your timeline or aesthetic to just celebrity content creator, cannabis connoisseur. But the YouTube, I just used to kind of store things. Instagram is kind of more for the nightlife media. Facebook is almost like personal, I would say. Don't have a Snap, and looking to start Twitch soon too.
Let's talk about that. So what makes you want to get into, we talked about it earlier, but I want to relearn like what's making you motivated to try out streaming.
A ton of things. I'm interested in it. Obviously, looking at things like, I wanted to hate the streamers like Kai Cenat. I wanted to hate Speed. I wanted to hate them so bad, but they're so damn entertaining. You're like, you get sucked in, and it's the why. It's like, why do I love this so much? And I want to learn the technology to put my own spin on it and utilize it in my own ways. But again, as a businessman and an entrepreneur, you can't avoid the things like Speed just got a new streaming contract that was monumental. Have you heard about that?
Yes and no.
I don't remember the number exactly, but it's just crazy. So there's crazy money in streaming. And it's not just that the money might initially attract people there, but I want to learn. I want to stream because I feel like I live a fun life and can add value to people who might not have as many things to do or whatnot. But that's one of my goals. I want to get one of those like 30K streamer backpacks and just be kicking it with Kai and Aiden. So I'm going to manifest that. All right, we'll be there soon. But that's the kind of thing that I'm focused on is leveling up to get that equipment, to have that capability, to then just be able to stream multi-cameras anywhere. So we go to a Griggs, not just creating a highlight video. That's the next level, I think. I think that's the upgrade for me, is not the highlight video afterwards, because my time, all that time, it's the now. It's literally editing on location. And if you get to that point, I feel like I'll be a bad man.
Can you name any streamers from Nebraska? Because I can't name a single one. You could be the first one that could actually
well, I mean, you know what?
Like Twitch streamer, Kick streamer, YouTube live streamer.
Yep. Shout out to my man Brandon Chong. So I want to say at least a year ago, popped up on him, but he's streaming in terms of gaming where they're getting paid and they're getting sponsorships actually. That's what I mean. I don't know too many. And that's one of the reasons why I jumped over to videography when I felt photography became so saturated, there was like nobody. It was like 10 to 1, 20 to 1, where you might know 20 photographers to one videographer. Now you might know a lot more videographers, but we don't know any streamers. You might know a lot of podcasters, but we don't know anybody that has the capability to just stream on location like that. And that's so important because everybody wants to know what's the move, what's going on, or just people are everybody's watching other people do stuff. My kids are watching other kids play with toys instead of playing with toys. We're watching other people at the club instead of just clubbing.
So, I remember you brought up how you taught your now wife like how to take a good picture and all that. Do you feel like you're gonna either teach her or someone else how to stream? Like, hey, I'm gonna be like, I guess let's get into that. Do you plan on being the man behind the camera for someone else, or do you want to be in front of the camera and be the content creator, the influencer on these live streaming platforms?
I'm realizing you got to do both. So I have a passion to use the tools to create art or document. I have a passion for that. But then you also realize you're a brand yourself. As we are in 2025, even you as a person, you're a brand, right? You have your own brand. So, I mean, I feel like we're all headed in that direction anyways. You might as well get the jump start on it. Everybody's low key doing it by posting just daily updates. You post on your Facebook daily and letting people know what you're doing. I mean, the extreme of that is just streaming 24/7, to these streamers.
So is your idea of the idea of starting your stream, is it right there just sitting down and talking to the camera? Or is your first idea just like going out to an event and then...
That's what I want to do. I love this. I love sitting on sitting down and having lengthy conversations, but I'm thinking like utilize it. Let's say how you would mix live streaming with multi-cameras. Let's say 4 cameras in the nightlife, and that's my goal. I'll talk about it now because by the time you chop this up, maybe we'll already be putting that into place. But something like let's say the College World Series, for example, shot down there for DJ Semicolon. Shout out to Semicolon. Shout out to DJ Devin Dupree and all the rest of the DJs. But let's say instead of a highlight video afterwards, also, the big screens that they have their logos on, if you were tapped into that live stream, so if I'm walking around with the camera, if you're in the party scenes and you flip on a big bright LED light in a camera, that in itself creates its own energy. If that camera wasn't there, that wouldn't have happened. But if you could live stream, if I'm in the crowd and people are dancing and going crazy, and you can live stream my video feed up to these big videos instead of just rotating logos, things like that, that would add an element. So if you're sitting in the VIP, you're like, wow, I'm over here in the VIP, but they're going crazy down there. That's entertaining. They can see what's kind of happening in the circle, whether it's a dance circle or people doing crazy stuff in the circle. Sometimes you're like, everybody wants to know what's going on. So a live feed to that, or like Let It Fly Sports Bar with TVs everywhere, or Rhythms, for example, with TVs everywhere. If you have a live stream of that, and then you mix it with a live stream of like an angle of the DJ spinning, and then another live stream of somebody following around the host, whomever's hosting with the microphone, stuff like that is what I think of. How can you utilize that and then make the club scene better than what it is? Or weddings live streams we've already done before in Texas, so that's a thing, but that's just more slow and formal. Those kind of things. It's just, it reminds me like MTV, BET back in the day when we used to watch those like MTV Spring Break. Does that ring a bell?
I'm familiar with it. I'm just not like an enthusiast about it.
Right. So I mean, stuff like that where like you're at an event and you just have multi cameras you can watch live and just up in the production. That's just it the next level. It all starts with this. It starts with the kit, and then
it just grows from there.
And yeah, but you do need a team. You're right. Like I was saying, you can only do so much as one man. Even in weddings, for example, I physically be here. I can set up a tripod over here and get this angle, but that's not the same as having another experienced shooter, like somebody like Jabs, making sure that he grabs that angle with the stabilizer. It's just not going to be the same. It's like you have to have a team. I realize that. Shout out to like Glory Visuals. I would say they're one of the best in the city in terms of a team that does it, and a production team that's crushing. So shout out to them.
At first, did you want to just be totally independent? Was that your first idea?
I did. I was just, as an entrepreneur, you kind of get that way because people aren't moving at your speed, or they just don't see your vision exactly how you see your vision. So you're like, forget it. I'm just gonna do it myself because I know I can do it. But once you get to a certain point, you realize to scale, you have to trust people. You have to have a team. You have to build a team.
We talked a lot about your photography skills and experience, or videography skills and experience, and I want to get into the celebrity content stuff that you also shoot. So behind here, for people who are watching right now and listening, he has a bunch of pictures with a lot of variety of just artists. You have Steve Aoki right there. You have above that picture, you have Guerrero and Jason Derulo, Summer Rae, Young Gravy. So what's it like meeting all these celebrities, whether it's for like 2 minutes, 30 seconds, or you have like a good conversation with them for the night?
It really varies, but shout out to Greg, especially, from helping put me in some positions of that. But when I don't know, it's just something that it's interesting because some people are like assholes and some people are really chill, and it's interesting kind of finding out the differences. You might meet a celebrity I was really, interested in meeting. I'm like, dang, they're kind of an ass, like, or oh wow, this particular artist was so humble, and it blew my mind. I didn't think they were going to be this humble, and so it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool on that note, just you kind of see people are people, and it's just they got a couple extra zeros in their bank account, really.
If you could name drop, which celebrities that you've recorded surprised you the most when you met them one-on-one?
Man, Waka, man. Shout out to Waka Flocka, man. Like that, he's probably one of the dopest artists that I've ever encountered, in terms of just humbleness and chill. Like we had a half an hour conversation about Pokemon, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Something you wouldn't even think that a hip hop artist like Waka is, where he's just super turned up, but we're talking about Pokemon. So just like you, diving deep and just having long, lengthy conversations, and really where you learn more about each other. You don't really get those opportunities, not much, but that was a great opportunity. Shout out to my man Banks too.
Anyone else?
Bankster one. Not that I can think of off the top that stood out more than Walk. Walk is dope. Yeah.
If you could if you can convince one celebrity, influencer, artist, musician to come to Omaha, perform, or do whatever he or she is passionate about, and you recorded that event, who would it be?
That's a good one, man. We'd have to go the biggest. You know what I'm saying? I think if Mr. Beast hosted a challenge here with like 100 random Omahanians, that would be crazy.
I never thought about that.
I wanted to say Kai or Aiden, but they're streaming 24/7. But Mr. Beast put some stuff together. And again, I want to not watch his show because I want you like, it's gonna be cheesy, but it's entertaining, man. There's no way around it. And just with the technology and the money that he has to be able to put these productions on, they're entertaining. You can't lie. There's no way around it. It's entertaining stuff. But Mr. Beast, that would be interesting. Some sort of like elimination challenge with 100 of the top most, let's say, popular people, or just random Omaha people. You might have Warren Buffett or like Bud Crawford over here, or just a lot of that would be fun watching them get eliminated somehow.
So how like you're probably familiar with how New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, those are like and Miami especially, are like where the influencers live, do their content, live stream. Do you think Omaha will ever hit that point?
100%, absolutely. Because it's not where you're at anymore. We have a whole green screen here wall, or a green screen room, to where you can put yourself wherever you want to be. You want to be on the beach. You want to be in Miami. You want to have a New York skyline to give your audience the illusion that you're streaming from New York. Great, but with the internet, you can reach people in China. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily where you're at. We're finding out now. It's just like the discipline, the quality content, and the discipline to just keep cranking it out.
Who do you think which celebrity from Nebraska represents the state the best?
I mean, the OG Warren Buffett, in terms of money, in terms of what, like, but I'd say Crawford as an authentic self, for sure. You can just tell if you know Crawford, and just, it's been so fun lately watching him, because he's got his fight coming up, obviously, September, but just watching him on all these different podcasts and platforms, and him continuing to be his authentic self is dope. Also watching him on my man Aspect and Angles Photography, Matthew Bill. Shout out to him. He's the official photographer. He's locked in for Crawford. So,
have you ever met Crawford in person?
Oh yeah. What do you mean Crawford's from? Yeah, for sure.
It's just crazy because I've heard a couple people are like, yeah, like he could move to anywhere in the country.
Yeah,
but he chooses to stay in Omaha, go to his gym in South Omaha, North Omaha,
North Omaha for
North
sure.
Omaha,
Yeah,
and
B&B
just
boxing.
like that's the thing. Like he's, in my opinion, the greatest boxer, active boxer in the world right now, and he lives in Omaha.
It's crazy. People don't even like his star power is pretty insane. Yeah.
So I'm looking.
Outside of Omaha, but like he'll be chilling. He's just Bud, you know what I mean? So here, but outside, like it's crazy.
Oh yeah, I already asked you that question. Let's move on to editing now.
Okay.
So
Dum, dum, dum.
you have so much software. I need to know because I only use Adobe Premiere Pro for this,
That's fire.
and then CapCut Pro for my clipping. That is it. But I feel like for you, you probably have a lot more software that you need to use.
Bro, no. Like, I mean, so that's the thing. As apps started to develop on mobile cell phones, and people can get really, really good at becoming an editor. TikTok even before CapCut, just TikTok. Just you could be if you were a master at TikTok, you could use any programs that I use. I use Final Cut Pro, Premiere. I don't use Premiere, but I mean that's the other one. I started in Final Cut Pro because it was good editing weddings, so that was just comfortable with that. However, you have to have like with the Red camera, it has its own file type, so you have to have your own program or your own plugin just to read the Red file types. But with what you have, simply with CapCut and Premiere, you can do some work.
I saw you posted something on Instagram that I could kind of relate to sometimes, not all the time. It was like, what do you do on weekends? And it's like people partying, and then it goes to you just editing on a desktop.
Literally just sliding one slider bar, adjusting something somebody probably won't even notice. But that's how it is. I mean, you see, we were setting up. It's just all of the little things from the lighting to the sound, the distance of the microphone. Is everything good? Double checking things. I mean, people don't realize, and that's what I have on my plate right now in terms of the work volume. It's the stuff that people don't see behind the scenes. So when you shoot a nightlight video or any video, you might shoot for 4 hours, but it's going to take you probably 4 times as long to edit because you have to go through all of that footage in real time, you know. So you're going back through it again in real time. That's doubling it. And then you're picking out the highlights, you know, of those clips that you've shot. And this is how the highlights work. And then you finding a perfect audio track, whether you do that before or after. You know, sometimes I do it after because then it's like you remember the feel of the event, so it just makes more sense on the story. So yeah, the editing is what most people dread, and I'm not gonna lie, it's my least favorite just because the time consumption. I like putting together the stories. It's like building Lego sets as a kid. You know, it sucks doing it when you bust all the packages open, but what kids like taking the time to build Legos and read the instructions? You do all that work because the final project, and you're just like, you know, you get to admire it.
So it takes you days for like one project, would you say?
Yeah, especially weddings too. Weddings are our delivery time on weddings are up to 90 days for videos, up to 60 days for photos, but I would say about 30 days for highlight films on nightlife, just because. Yeah, I mean it's a lot different than just an auto cap cut. You know, there's a lot of thought that goes into all of the little tiny minute details, and just finding the time as well too. Just being a little bit more busier as family man and having a couple businesses. Than just somebody who like a college kid that on an internship that can just post up in his dorm room. And I get invited to all the cool stuff, so it kind of I have bad discipline and and FOMO. So when they know you're a good videographer, of course everybody's gonna be like, hey, I got this party coming on, bring your camera, come on out. Or they'll hire you. And so it's like, do you want to be sitting in a dark room on a Saturday night wasting your Saturday night, or when you could be turning up in a VIP section? It's kind of tough sometimes, but I'm learning to love it. Learning to love the things you hate. That's really where you break through.
That's where discipline is built.
Yeah.
Is there a specific event where you remember it took you the absolute longest? Or in other words, what event took you the longest to edit?
Wedding documentaries, the full documentaries, the hour-and-a-half documentaries. Those take the longest, but most people never see them because people's attention spans 4 seconds to 20 seconds. So I'm not posting a wedding doc on Facebook or something like that, right? But those take the longest, and those are just like behind the scenes, they're not glorified kind of things. But to the couples, it means the most because it's the full day. People want to relive that moment,
So on average, how long does that take? Those hour-and-a-half documentaries.
I mean, chopped up, yeah, it will take me the full 90 days to deliver for sure. Just because it's not just like this where it's just one long clip. You know what I mean? It's hundreds of clips from multi cameras. maybe, 3 4 cameras types, drone, 2, big cameras. So it does take quite a bit, and matching it with audio and everything like that. There's just there's so many more layers than just pictures. Pictures is just this one still frame.
Do you have any favorite venues or favorite business owners to go to, like repeatedly? Like, oh, I can't wait to work with you again.
On which side? So on the nightlife side?
Yeah.
On the nightlife side, yeah, Greg, shout out to the Royal Grove, brother. Love you, man. The Grove is awesome. He keeps reinvesting back into the venue, so it's not just that we have a relationship, but things that other business owners would never do. They're never going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on these screens or lights or stuff that he cares about. But I know as a creator, it draws me to it, because it's like, yeah, I want to get this 6 shot of these 8 CO2 cannons going off confetti at the same time. Like, it just makes for crazy content. And shout out to Bennett. He's crushing the content over there at Royal Grove as well, too. But things like that, where I see people like yourself that are investing in themselves and them venues, to just really lean into the aesthetic and make it unique, and they care about the customer experience also. So on the nightlife side, that. On the wedding side, I like Bellaterre in Iowa, the Vineyard. That's it's just so once you're in there, you feel like you're in a little Italy, because all of the decorations and everything looks like that. On the wedding side, I guess, and that's just here locally. But other than that, I want to travel more, man. I feel like I've shot everything in Omaha, and I like to travel more. So I'm looking to go like the Pacific Northwest. That's like on my bucket list.
What makes you different from other videographers and content creators?
That's a broad question, but breaking it down, like my perspective on things. I mean, I think that one of the things in the nightlife is just that is the style of shooting, because I'm who I am. Like I said, I'm shooting up my first person point of view. So if my interactions with all 300 of the people that are going to be there that night is going to be different than your interactions. Not only that, your shooting style, you might not be as extroverted as me. So you might be more of an introvert, fly on the wall, and you're kind of just shooting what you see from a distance. I feel like my style, it brings people a little bit closer, because I'm closer. I'm in the mix, and you get that POV, and you get that energy and just different angles. So my videos draw people in a little bit closer, because I'm in there.
I know you kind of brought this up. I'm going to ask you again. Did you ever see yourself doing this when you were younger?
No, dude. No. When you ask you a career day, this didn't exist. There wasn't podcasters and videographers back then. I want to be like a marine biologist or something, a zoologist. Thought I was going to work with animals, or something like that on the chart for sure. I always loved animals. So that's a bucket list thing too. When I retire, I want to be like that one old dude with the super long 800 millimeter lens on a safari, just sitting there for like 12 hours to capture this one shot of this rare animal. Like that's I would do that. I'd be the dude in the duck blind or sitting in the swamp.
I was also going to ask you this. I was going to ask, have you reached your end goal yet? Both you talking about streaming and just reinvesting even more to your business. It does not sound like you're not your end goal yet. So what will it take? What do you know? What are the steps that it will take for you to reach that goal?
I don't think there is an end goal. It's just to be happy. But if you're happy doing what you love to do, I'm going to keep doing it, because there's always something. Like I said, things are always evolving. Streaming didn't exist like this, and I'm intrigued by it, and I know that route, that option is there to explore that. But the end goal is to continue creating. I mean, whether it's who knows. The end goal is just to be happy. So whatever that looks like.
What are your upcoming plans for the rest of the year? What do you got going on recently?
Well, like super recent, this Friday, there's a meet and greet with Flesh and Bone of Bone Thugs and Harmony at Best Buds Dispensary on that end. But in terms of like on the wedding side, we've got some weddings booked for 2026, but for the rest of 2025, it's going to be primarily like nightlife, and just continuing to climb, man. I mean, build off of the relationships that I've built already, and just double down and just work harder, I guess.
Where can people find you on social media?
Okay, great question. Instagram is going to be Guerrero Media Group. Same thing on Facebook, Guerrero Media Group. Those are the two platforms, Instagram and Facebook, where I operate heavy on.
If someone wants to hire you and ask you like, hey, I would love for you to either shoot my wedding or shoot this video for this big event that that I'm having at my business or whatever, where can they contact you there?
I would say on Instagram, just DM me on Instagram. And then our website, GuerreroMediaGroup.com, is where usually the wedding leads come into. There's a contact button or a book button, but the website is a little bit better on walking you through the process to give you an idea of what that looks like. But yeah, on Instagram, just a DM. DM will work, man.
Awesome. And then do you have any words of advice for anyone that wants to step in your shoes and become either a content creator or a videographer or a photographer?
Action. Just do it. You know, a lot of dreams get lost telling them to other people, and nobody's going to see your vision like you see your vision. Just do it, man. Don't be afraid. Just do it. Worst thing that can happen is you fail, and that's a lesson, not a loss, right?
Absolutely. Guerrero, I appreciate you hopping on the podcast. I learned a lot from you, learned more about you, and I'm excited to see what you got going on the rest of this year and seeing your work on social media.
I'm going to keep it coming, man. Stay tuned, Connor. It's been a blessing. I appreciate you. I can't wait to see how far you take this. I'm glad I got to be one of your early episodes before you start interviewing super famous people.